What is up? Welcome to another edition of the NFL Fantasy Live podcast. It's me, your man, MG Marcus Grant, alongside the Fantasy Hall of Famer, Michael Fabiano Fabs. Happy week 6, man.
Yeah, man. Happy week 6. Not for Yankee fans.
No,
I'm
it's all
still
over.
trying to get over that loss. Eddie's trying to get over the loss. Go Houston.
Really, Houston?
Dude, anybody.
Oh no, I'm pulling for the Dodgers.
Anybody but Boston.
No, Houston bothered me last
Well, because
year.
Houston beat you guys to go to the World Series last
Exactly.
year.
I'm not a fan of Houston at
Dude,
all.
really? Then what kind of Yankees fan are you? You're going to be rooting
For the NL.
No, you
100%.
don't let the Red Sox get anywhere near the World Series.
It's fine if they
Pick
do.
them out.
I'm still going for Brewers or Dodgers, but preferably Dodgers.
I'd love to see. I don't even care. Brewers, Dodgers, doesn't matter. Just not Boston.
Honestly, you should cheer for them to get to the World Series, to have them lose in the most painful way possible. Like, have them get close.
I can't.
Have them get to the room with the Holy Grail and then pick the wrong one and then turn to dust.
You don't understand the hell
No, I
the world
understand.
turns into if the Red Sox win the World Series.
No, I've lived in that world too.
It's
so
horrible.
I understand.
Yeah,
So, we have plenty to talk about. Of course, Week 6 preview. We will talk about the London game and whether or not you should handle it any differently than most other games. It's kind of a weird thing to figure out with London. Of course, we'll have Eddie's Delirious pick and some of your mailbag tweets as well. But hey, let's get started by doing some news.
Let's do the news.
All right, Devonta Freeman missed Falcons practice this week as he's dealing with a foot injury. I believe a bone contusion is the diagnosis right now. It's been a tough year for Devonta Freeman.
Yep.
Obviously, this means more Tevin Coleman, right?
You would think so. Yeah, I mean, Ito Smith as well is going to be on the radar for fantasy fans. But
Judge Ito.
Yeah, Coleman's a guy who's averaging right around 15 PPR points per game in games where Freeman is absent, and that looks like what we're going to have in Week 6. So fire up Coleman, and if you're in a deeper league, Judge Ito, the honorable one.
The honorable Judge Ito.
Is a potential flex starter because the Buccaneers defense is not good.
It's funny, we keep talking about Judge Ito, and I'm just wondering how many Eddie, you get that. Well, he's off making sure things sound great. But I'm wondering, Eddie, do you get the Judge Ito reference? Are you old enough to get that reference?
Nope.
That's a no.
Really?
Afraid not.
I'm going
to like an idiot in a second.
Presided over the O.J. Simpson trial.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
But it's such a deep pull. It's like everybody says.
But it's not like if you're our age. Like it's
right.
not.
But that's what I'm saying. But of us, you have to figure the O.J. trial was literally 20 some odd years ago.
It was 94,
right.
so I was 2 years old. But I know it. I know it from the documentaries, the ESPN documentary, and then from the FX show. So he was a prominent figure in both shows. So I assume if you were of age watching it, he definitely stood out.
Right. If you lived during that time, you were old enough to you definitely know Lance Ito. But I just feel like now as the trial has sort of faded into memory, he's not as prominent as he was.
By the way, almost any and all documentaries on that whole O.J. Simpson situation, I love them.
They're all A+. Everything is A+.
I can't watch enough of them.
Yeah.
They're all pretty great.
Yeah.
Let's see. Elsewhere, Brandin Cooks Cooper Kupp look like they're going to play on Sunday, so that means good things. There's potentially going to be weather. There's going to be weather.
Yeah, it's supposed to snow.
It's going to be weather there in Denver.
Right, it's not even November yet.
No.
And we're getting a little white stuff.
Yeah, man. It's supposed to be raining pretty hard in New Jersey tonight for Eagles-Giants and snowing in Denver for Rams.
You know what?
And
I feel like every week of the NFL season, there should be at least one game played in the snow. Even if it's fake snow. I mean, ski resorts do it all the time. They make fake snow. I love games in the snow. They're so much fun. Who doesn't love playing football in the snow or watching a football game in the snow?
Watching the football game in the snow, you can count me out.
I love it, man.
I mean, do I have to watch it there?
Well, if it's your favorite team, okay, and your favorite
am I
team,
watching it from my couch or am I in the stands?
Well, I mean, either one. Like if I'm
not in the stands.
I'm a Cowboys fan. If I'm at Lambeau Field and it's snowing and I'm watching the game and I'm freezing, I think, well, that's kind of one of those cool.
I'm the dude who wants to go to Lambeau in September. I'm not trying to go in December. So, but Brandin Cooks Cooper Kupp back. That's good news. Having those guys healthy, you're playing them.
Yep.
No real debates there. Just keeping track on their status as we get to Sunday. Will Deshaun Watson play on Sunday against the Bills? He says for sure. He was getting his chest looked at, but it looks like everything's going to be fine there. The Bills' defense has not been bad this year. I mean, they're not great, but they're not terrible.
They've been better at home for sure.
They have been better at home. I mean, would you still take the chance on Deshaun Watson?
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. I mean, so we're going to talk about the game in Atlanta a bunch, but like if you could pick up Jameis Winston, I would start him over Deshaun Watson.
Ooh, okay. All right.
I love Jameis this week.
I do love Jameis.
I mean, he's all over the place. In the fantasy community, everyone's all over him. That only means bad things, but
Absolutely.
It is a great matchup.
It's all going to go sideways now.
Right.
Isaiah Crowell dealing with an ankle issue, and he is not practicing, did not practice on Thursday, him coming off that huge game a week ago against the Denver Broncos.
Yep.
But he has been quietly a pretty consistent option if he can go this week. I feel like you got to give him a shot against the Colts, right?
Yeah, I mean, keep tabs on that Friday practice report because if he doesn't practice, then Bilal Powell all of a sudden becomes a very interesting RB2 slash flex starter in this contest. You know, the Colts never good at stopping the run. So if Powell is the guy for the men in green this weekend and Crowell and Powell. If the Crow is out and Bilal is the man, there's some definite upside there.
Same game, different side. No practice for T.Y. Hilton, Jack Doyle, or Eric Ebron.
Oh, man.
The Doyle and Ebron part is interesting because do you dare take a chance on Eric Swoop?
I know that's the thing, right? Yeah, I think you do. Look at the tight end position.
He's a really athletic guy. They like his playmaking ability. He's been buried on the depth chart, so he hasn't gotten a chance.
I mean, Doyle's not playing. If Ebron is out, and that would be such an Ebron thing. He's hot, now he's hurt. But heck yeah, I would. Look at the tight ends we're telling people to start these days. I would absolutely do that. And in that game, one player that I love, and I have him in my top 25 wide receivers in PPR leagues. Damned if I'm going a little crazy on him, is Chester Rogers.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. The Jets are brutal against slot receivers, and Buster Screen is banged up. And if he doesn't play, and if Tremaine Johnson doesn't play, he didn't practice on Thursday either. The Jets are going to be down two of their top three corners, and Chester Rogers is going to eat because T.Y. Hilton's not there, Doyle's not there, Ebron might not be there. Even if Ebron is there, he's going to see a lot of targets. So if Rogers is out there and you need a flex starter in a PPR league, giddy up.
By the way, in case this helps sway anybody, Eric Swope played college basketball, so he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, man.
Those are just the rules. Those are just the rules. He played college basketball, he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Geronimo Allison and Randall Cobb return to practice. That doesn't seem to bode well for Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So potentially no MVS, no ESB.
But here's the problem, though. It's a Monday night game.
Yep.
So unless you know for sure that Allison is in or out, Cobb is in or out, you can't really play any one of the three of them because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, if you have to wait until game time, you can't do that. I mean, unless you have like MVS and Cobb or MVS and Allison, and then you're okay because you're covered. Other than that, I mean, it's going to be hard to start any of them because of the question marks about two of the three status due to health.
Yeah, so that's going to be one to keep an eye on. Although it does, I think, mean good things for Aaron Rodgers getting his top receivers back.
Against the Niners. Oh, boy. The Niners, the team that passed on him in the draft.
Yeah.
Marcus.
I still am bitter about that.
I would be, too.
I'm still sad.
I would be, too.
Greg Olsen puts in a full practice on Thursday. Looks like he is on track to play on Sunday, so he's back. We're starting, right? I mean, we just need tight ends.
I mean, yeah, dude, we just need tight ends.
We just need tight
We
ends.
really do. I mean, like, that's the bottom line right now. So if he's back and you sat on him this long, or maybe you picked him up off the waiver wire because someone hastily cut him, I'd be firing him up unless I had one of the better options, and there's not that many right now. I mean, the thing that I do worry about is that, that foot injury, problematic last season, problematic this season. He's coming back. We'll see. So it's a risk-reward proposition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully he can avoid injuries again.
We'll see what happens. Plus, also, Greg Olsen being back probably, I'd say it signals the end of Devin Funchess.
Yes.
Devin Funchess never really got going.
Two games, Funchess was pretty good. In PPR, he's pretty good. And in the last game, it wasn't so much. But you're right, though. It correlates. Olsen out, Funchess moves up. Olsen in, Funchess
just moves back.
Moves back down. Yeah.
So there you go. That is pretty much all the news you need to know.
That was the news.
All right, let's do our Week 6 preview, shall we? We'll kick it off in Hotlanta. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading up for a division matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons have been bad defensively in pretty much every aspect. Mm-hmm. Do you have the stomach to start a Bucs running back?
No, I don't. Because, Peyton Barber hadn't done anything. Good matchup, bad matchup in there, it hadn't mattered because they've just thrown the football a ton. And I don't know if things are going to change now with Fitzmagic out and Winston in. I would think they're going to throw the ball a lot. And Ronald Jones, I would make a speculative ad on him. Mm-hmm. But here's the problem. Can't catch. Can't pass protect.
I mean, is that a problem?
That's a problem.
Okay.
So I would pick him up because they've got no one else, but I wouldn't play him. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do that.
Wow.
Can't do it, buddy.
I mean, I did. I looked at it and I thought about, like, do I try Ronald? And I'm like, I don't have the guts. I don't have the fortitude to do it. They can't open holes. Neither one of those guys. Peyton Barber's been bad. Ronald Jones has been bad. There's just nothing good there to look at.
Yep.
We talked a little bit about Devonta Freeman and how you might handle that going forward, depending on his foot injury. But staying with the Falcons, Calvin Ridley obviously had those 2 blow-up games. Mohamed Sanu has started to get involved. So now, if you're facing that dilemma, Mohamed Sanu, Calvin Ridley, which way are you going?
I have Ridley ranked higher, but I would not be surprised if Sanu scored more points this week. You got to look at the numbers, guys. The Buccaneers have given up the most yards, the most touchdowns, and the most PPR points to slot receivers in the entire league. They're giving up 43 points a game to slot receivers. And Sanu's run about 75% of his routes out of the slot. So it's weird because you look at the numbers on Next Gen, and it's all against the slot. All the damage is done against the slot against the Buccaneers. If you look at the defense with the wide receivers out wide, it's not nearly as mind-blowing. Sanu is a very good play. We told you to start him last week against the Steelers. I would say start him again this week against the Bucs.
I think an interesting report, and I know somebody out there who's doing a lot of smart work who probably has broken down the rise of slot receivers, and now we're seeing like a lot of these big time outside receivers moving to the slot. I mean, Mike Evans has done it. Michael Thomas is doing it. Larry Fitzgerald is doing it. Like, I'm waiting for the next move is when defensive coordinators figure out how to kind of slow down some of this slot production, because that's been the thing so far this year.
Yep.
Panthers going to Washington. We talked a little bit. Devin Funchess. Bye-bye?
Off the radar for me.
All right.
As a starter.
Yeah. I mean, it's just been so hard, man. Like, it's funny. They got rid of Kelvin Benjamin and they replaced him with like a slight upgrade of Kelvin Benjamin. I guess Kelvin Benjamin is sort of like dollar store Devin Funchess. I'm not sure, but it's not a whole lot better now that Greg Olsen is back. That I think is pretty much a wrap. But everybody else, I mean, Cam Newton, obviously I think you're starting. Christian McCaffrey, you're obviously starting. We talked about Greg Olsen. I think those are your 3 main Panthers that you're going to start.
Yep.
On the flip side, Adrian Peterson, can you play him? I mean, aside from the fact that he is a walking injury report between his knee,
what I say earlier in the week,
his shoulder. I mean, he dislocated his shoulder on Monday night,
and that hit that he took to the beginning.
I thought he was done. I thought that was a wrap for him. Yeah.
I don't know if it was the same knee that he had the reconstruction on, but if it is. Kudos to that surgeon.
Yeah, I thought that was a wrap. But so now he's going against this Panthers defense, which is pretty tough, especially on running backs. You give AP some run this week.
He's a flex starter at best for me. He's so up and down with the numbers. I mean, he's had 2 big weeks. He's had a couple of stinkers. One thing that I do want to know, obviously, and we all want to know, is what the status of Chris Thompson. I think he's going to be fine. But remember, he got banged up in that game because Alex Smith was throwing hospital balls. And unfortunately, he took a hit trying to catch one of those hospital balls. But he should be fine. But, God forbid anything's up with CT, then Peterson becomes a must-start. And let's talk about Alex Smith.
Okay.
Anyone who thought that Alex Smith was going to be as good this year as he was last year was out of their cotton-picking minds or is a Redskins fan. Because Alex Smith ended up having the magical season, which, Marcus, I talk about all the time. It was the best season he's ever going to have. He had Tyreek Hill. He had Travis Kelce. He had Kareem Hunt. He had Andy Reid calling the shots. He goes to Washington, no deep threat, right? I mean, Paul Richardson, he can't stay healthy. Josh Doxson can't stay healthy. Jamison Crowder's a slot guy. He's not going to make big plays. And Alex Smith has turned back to what Alex Smith was for most of his career. Well, a dinker and a dunker who, and he looked terrible against the Saints. I mean, he's typically pretty accurate. But, I mean, he left a few of his receivers out to dry bad in that game.
Well, I'll give you the counterpoint because I did believe Alex. I didn't think he'd be quite as good as last year, but I still thought he'd be better than he was this year. And my reasoning for it was, one, Jay Gruden has always played sort of an arena-style football offense. He's a guy who made his hay sort of in the Arena League. And we saw with Kirk Cousins, they weren't afraid to take shots down the field. Now I'm starting to think that maybe that was more Kirk Cousins than it was Jay Gruden. But he had, in theory, a dynamic playmaking tight end. I mean, Travis Kelce versus Jordan Reed. He had receivers that could catch out of the backfield. Chris Thompson versus Kareem Hunt. Paul Richardson could be a deep threat. He did have a slot receiver. Jamison Crowder isn't quite Tyreek Hill, but he's a little gadget guy that can play out of the slot. So I thought a lot of the same pieces were there, but you're right. Maybe this was maybe what that success that Washington had the last couple of years, maybe we should owe that more to Kirk Cousins than anything they did with that coaching staff because Alex Smith has come there and has not continued that.
And look what's going on in Minnesota now. Thielen, 100 yards every game. Diggs putting up numbers, man. Kirk Cousins is an underrated quarterback, and well, maybe not underrated from a reality standpoint, but in fantasy's pretty damn good. And the numbers that offense is putting up have been astronomical. Hopefully, they get that running game started. Dalvin Cook was able to put in a full practice today, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, they kind of need that.
I think they're the only team in the NFL that hasn't rushed for a touchdown.
Yikes. That's no bueno.
Yeah.
All right, Seahawks. I wrote Seahawks at Raiders, but it should be Seahawks versus Raiders or Raiders.
Well, no, it's a Raiders
Seahawks.
home game though, so you're actually right.
Home game. I'm doing air quotes. You guys can't see home game because they're playing in jolly old England, in London.
That's pretty good. I didn't know Handsome Hank was in here.
I thought that was terrible, but all right, I'll take that.
Not too bad.
So the London game, right? It's one of 4 I believe we got this year, or one of at least 3. I don't know. There are multiple London games. I will say that much.
There you go. That's
I will say multiple London games. I've always tried to look and see if there are any defining characteristics of these games. I remember writing a couple years ago trying to figure out if there's anything, these games have in common. Is one team, run better, throw better, whatever. There's nothing about them that has any sort of through line at all.
Because in the beginning, it was like, oh man, the field is a mess. It's like a marsh, and it's bad for the offenses. And then there was that game. I think it was Saints Chargers, or I can't remember what it was, but I remember like LT was in the game, so it was definitely Chargers, and it was a ridiculously like high scoring game, and that kind of whole concept of the London games being low scoring games went out the window. So in this game, you would think, based on these two teams, it's going to be a ground and pound game because the Seahawks have become a run-first offense,
right?
Except for Russell Wilson, who's on pace for a career low in rushing yards. I mean, like barely over 100. It's so bad. But they've got Carson, who I like as a flex. They've got Davis. If you're desperate for a flex, I guess you could utilize him. He's getting enough opportunities. And Marshawn Lynch,
at least in the first half, because in the second half they stopped using him.
I don't know why, but
usually because they're losing, and then they can't run the ball.
He's still the best back they have. I mean, I don't think we're going to see more of Jalen Richard than we are of Marshawn Lynch this week. I think he's an RB2.
Interesting, because it's funny because the second half of these Raider games have belonged to Jalen Richard again because usually they're losing. But
I mean, Seahawks are not. They're not great. Their defense is their offense hasn't been that good.
That might be what keeps Marshawn Lynch involved.
Yeah, if it's a ground and pound kind of game, then Marshawn he'll get into the end zone for you this weekend.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I went into thinking like, is there something you do differently? Is there a different way you approach these London games? But I guess not. You just sort of play them as they would say in golf. You play it as it lies, right? Like it just is. It is what it is.
Really? Man. Because a lot of my friends that I play golf with, they move it all over the place.
Yeah, well,
they don't play it as it lies.
I don't play at all.
They lie about that lie, and they move it around all over the place.
Is this a make or break week for Doug Baldwin?
Dude, I mean, I don't know about make or break, but geez, how could you play him right now? He's just a name. He's just a name market. I mean,
just wrote my weekly Fix My Flex column. Like, I can't do it.
He's just a name. That's all. Until he starts producing, he's just a name. He's coming off a mediocre season from a fantasy standpoint. Been banged up. I mean, I don't know that he's 100%. Even before he was forced to miss time, he was saying, remember the preseason?
I'm not going to be 100% all year.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, man. Like, between him and like Larry Fitzgerald, more name than production right now, and I feel bad because I love both of them. I've had both of them on fantasy teams. I have both of them on fantasy teams. I can't play them.
Doug Baldwin last week, 1 target, 1 catch, 1 yard.
I know. I mean, Russell Wilson completed 13 passes. 13. Oof. That the Reds scored more runs in the game against us.
Oof.
Sorry.
Oof, man.
I'm still bitter.
So we talked about Marshawn Lynch. So we're both thinking he gets a second half because last week he didn't have any touches in the second half. I'm guessing he'll at least
would be stupid if he didn't.
At least 1 touch in the second half.
I mean, he's got to be beast moding against the Seahawks, man. He's got to.
One would think. But, I can't wait for the Raiders to get down on the 1 yard line again and try to throw it to Seth Roberts or something.
Great.
That'll be what happens.
Thanks, John Gruden.
Colts at Jets. Nyheim Hines has been pretty good the last couple of weeks, but Marlon Mack looks like he's coming back. We know Robert Turbin is back. Jordan Wilkins is still there. There's just a lot of guys hanging around that backfield. Is it time maybe if you have Nyheim Hines to put him on the bench or maybe even put him on waivers?
I still think he's a flex until further notice, until we see what the rotation is. He deserves to be out there. And remember, the Colts are down receivers. We've talked about it. I mean, Doyle's hurt. Hilton's hurt. Ebron, I don't know if he's going to miss time, but he's hurt too. So they're down receivers. They need receivers. And Andrew Luck is on pace to throw the football like 200,000 times this year. He's on pace to break the record for the most pass attempts in a single season.
7, I believe I saw.
So I'd still play him as a flex. And I talked about early Chester Rogers, right? Mm-hmm. He's had 26 targets over the last 3 games. And I can't tell you enough. And it lines up perfectly, which means he's probably going to bust. But it lines up perfectly. Buster Screen is still dealing with the effects of the concussion. And Tremaine Johnson is hurt. So if the Jets are down 2 of their top 3 DBs, and they were already terrible against slot receivers when Screen was playing, hell, fire Chester Rogers up, dude. Fire him up in PPR leagues. You would think he's going to get 8 to 10 targets, if not more.
Yeah, it could be interesting. For the Jets, Robbie Anderson, is he a thing now after last
I don't
week?
know.
Is he a thing? Do you trust him?
No, I don't trust it. So the first 4 games, right? They didn't throw to him. They didn't throw to him at all.
Right.
At all. Right? And you're like, oh, well, they're going to a Nuno. And then all of a sudden, but he only had 3 catches? He just had 2 touchdowns.
Right.
So the target share is still not there. And the Colts, I feel like this isn't a Noonwood game, not a Robbie Anderson game. So is he worth picking up off the waiver? Well, I mean, sure. I liked Anderson coming into the season. Maybe things will get better as Darnold gets more comfortable in an NFL offense, but I still can't trust him. I have trust issues. I just have trust issues. I just do. You give me 1 good game out of 5 weeks, I don't trust you. I can't trust you.
All right. I'm just wondering if Sam Darnold maybe is a little more comfortable and willing.
Oh, he will be, no doubt.
And sling it a little bit. So we'll see. Last week obviously was a nice eye opener if you have Robbie Anderson.
Yep.
I don't know. I give him a flex shot against the Colts. Let's see what happens.
You could do worse.
You could do worse.
Maybe.
Cardinals at Vikings. Deep sleepers, Josh Rosen and Christian Kirk.
I'm not going Rosen.
The Vikings defense has not been.
I know. I can't go Rosen. I can't go Rosen. I mean, unless I'm in a 2 QB or super flex league, I can't go Rosen. Now, Christian Kirk, now you're talking, Marcus.
Okay.
Now you're talking. Now we're talking sleeper. Now we're talking flex starter, standard or PPR. Made a big play last week, 75-yard touchdown.
Yep.
Rookie-to-rookie connection going on here. Rosen building that rapport with Christian Kirk. So there's definitely some sleeper appeal with him. That's for. I mean. Would you start Kirk over Fitzgerald at this point? Fitzgerald's done nothing.
Yeah, I would.
He's done nothing.
I'd start Christian Kirk over Larry Fitzgerald.
There you go.
For sure.
And so I mentioned Dalvin Cook, back at practice today. See if he puts in a full tomorrow, which he should if he did today. And the matchup.
Matchup's good.
No team in the league has given up more fantasy points to running backs than the Cardinals. So if Cook is active, okay, and we don't hear any of this damn snap count nonsense, I mean, at worst, he's an RB2, right? Well, at worst, he's an RB2.
I'm not so worried about the snap count. I just want to make sure that he's completely healthy. I mean,
Right.
we saw this a couple weeks ago.
No, I agree.
He came back. We thought it was all good against the Rams. He played very little. He, wasn't 100%, and then we don't see him for another couple weeks after that. So, I just, not that I know, not that Dalvin's gonna call me and be like, "Hey, it's all good, bro." But like,
I will. So I've been sending him messages. And he's not getting back to me because I don't think he wants to, let on one way or another to some dopey fantasy football analyst that he's healthy or not healthy, whatever. But I've been trying, trust me, because I just made a trade, and we'll talk about this maybe today, maybe next week, with Dave Damashek that involved Dalvin Cook. So I was hoping to see if I can maybe get a little intel from DC, but he wasn't doing it.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. But that's called a tease, so stay tuned for Monday's show and see what might become of that. Next up, Steelers at Bengals. I know you love Juju, right, this week, but the last couple weeks has been just kind of meh.
And I'm just a Juju fan. I really am. I mean, and this is coming from someone who just crapped on USC wide receivers forever. Why? Because they deserve to be crapped on, because typically they're not good. But, I mean, I love him. I love his personality. I love to watch him as a player. I'm not a Steelers fan, but I love watching him. There's some players out there, like, and Yankee fans, forgive me, because I am 100% dedicated. I like watching Mookie Betts play baseball, man. There's just guys that you like to watch play. And I just like watching Juju play, and I think he has a good game. I don't think Ben has a good game, but I think Juju has a good game, a bounce-back game. And I also like Tyler Boyd. Big spot here. Steelers defense bad against slot receivers. Boyd makes most of his noise out of the slot. I would not be surprised if he actually scored more PPR points than AJ Green this week.
Wow. All right, that's big. So that answers my AJ Green or Tyler Boyd question.
Yes.
We're good with CJ Uzama.
Because so in the pronunciation, it's YEW dash and then big za.
All right.
So it's Uzama.
All right.
And so so last week 92% of the snaps, right? First game without Tyler Eifert, 92% of the snaps. That's a guy who's out on the gridiron. And I think it was fourth in targets. Didn't really have a huge game, but the Steelers, I mean, look at the numbers. They get crushed by tight ends. Yep. Austin Hooper, Marcus and I talked about him last week as a nice streamer. That's why. The Steelers defense stinks against tight ends. So I absolutely would use him. I'm starting him in at least one of my leagues this week, and he's available on the waiver wire in a lot of leagues.
Let's see. Next one, Chargers at Browns. Keenan Allen has not been, he's been fine, but he's not been what you expected when you spent probably a second-round pick on him. The matchup, not great. Any concerns with him bouncing back?
Yeah, man. Dude, listen. You remember the Browns drafted Denzel Ward, and people were like, "Really?
Right.
Really?
I mean, yeah,
dude,
it's worked out.
He's good, man. He's he's on pace to be this year's Marshawn Lattimore.
He's balling.
Dude, he's good, man. So, I'm starting Keenan Allen, but I'm a little concerned about him. Wouldn't be surprised if Mike Williams had more points this week than Keenan. But the guy that I would certainly bench is Phil Rivers. And Phillip Rivers has been great. Phillip Rivers has been one of several quarterback poster boys for why you should wait to draft a quarterback. He's been great. He's had one mediocre game this year, one. And even that, I think it was around 17 or 18 points. But Cleveland's defense is tough at home. I get it. Derek Carr, and that game went nuts. And overtime game, that was nuts. But at home, in front of the dog pound, they're giving up fewer than 9 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And one of the quarterbacks they faced was Ben Roethlisberger. So they haven't faced all dog quarterbacks. Big Ben's pretty good. Not good on the road, but he's pretty good. So Rivers is a fade for me this week. I don't have him in my top 12.
Wow. Interesting. I still have faith in Phillip Rivers. It's not the best matchup, and if you've got another option, you really might have
Jameis.
Rivers and Patrick Mahomes.
Jameis.
You might have Jameis out there. Yeah. I'd probably do it, but if you're in a pinch, I don't know. I still believe. I think there's just a lot of weapons there, and even if it's not Keenan Allen, they'll find a way to kind of get the ball downfield. Do you dare try if you're hurting Baker Mayfield this week?
I don't hate him this week.
Okay.
No, so I didn't like him last week, and he had a decent game. Against a tough opponent.
Right.
I would say I don't have him in my top 12, but 2 QB leagues, if Stafford's your quarterback or if Breeze is your quarterback and these guys are on buys, I don't think it's a bad. The Chargers defense has not been good against the pass.
No, it has not.
It's right. It's weird because we really thought they were going to be one of the elite teams
Yep.
in terms of stopping the pass. They have
Hasn't
not been
happened.
this season. So, I mean, yeah, Baker makes plays, dude. He's fun to watch. I mean, another guy who's fun to watch, and he's a home game. I would say that he's one of those guys. The position is just so ridiculously deep that I'm not saying he's a great starter this week, but I think he's a good start if you need help at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that his greater value right now is in keeper leagues, dynasty leagues, that sort of thing. But in the right matchup, maybe he's worth getting a shot. G Suite is a suite of cloud-based productivity tools that includes Gmail, Docs, Slides, Sheets, and Drive. And these tools help improve your work life both in terms of your experience and the outputs you create. Hence their new campaign. Make it with G Suite. You know, when you have 20 identical versions of a document labeled final, no clue which is the latest, so you make another version, you name that one final. I mean, we've been there, right? Well, with G Suite by Google Cloud, a range of work apps like Gmail, Docs, and Slides let you make real-time updates to the same document without having to keep track of version after version of a project. And since all the tools are cloud-based, your whole team can access the same document and work on the same page at the same time. To find out more about G Suite's productivity tools, visit gsuite.com. That's gsuite.com. Make it with G Suite by Google Cloud. All right, going through the Week 6 slate. Back half of it starts Bills at Texans. LaShawn McCoy finally sort of kind of came to life just a little bit, maybe a little bit sort of last week. Do we see more of it sort of, kind of a little bit this week against the Texans?
Dude, if his ceiling is like 12.8 PPR points, dude, the Texans' defense against the run's tough. Ask Zeke Elliott.
Yeah.
I mean, they really held him down. I mean, opposing running backs are averaging 3.4 yards per attempt against them. And game script not in the favor of the Bills or LaShawn McCoy. If I had depth, I'm thinking about sitting him.
I know the rumors have been out there that he might get traded somewhere.
Go to Philly. Please.
Can he just
Please, fantasy guys, I know you're cruel, okay?
Just get him out
But
of
if you're
Buffalo,
out there,
man.
send him to Philly.
Just get him out.
Send him to Philly.
Just get him out of Buffalo.
Be great, man.
I don't even care. Just out of Buffalo is all I really want.
And then we can have more Chris Ivory in our lives.
I mean, honestly, he hasn't been terrible.
I mean, he rushed for 1,000 yards a few years
He
ago with the
hasn't been
Jets.
terrible in Buffalo. He's been more productive.
And it would also eliminate. And tonight, the game we have to see. I think it's going to be Corey Clement who's going to see more of the work, but Wendell Smallwood is going to see some touches as well, no question about it. But I mean, if McCoy goes to Philly, you eliminate and squash that backfield committee, and anybody who drafted McCoy in the third round is certainly smiling.
Which is why I've sort of been telling people you should try to trade for LaShawn McCoy when and where you can.
But if he's stuck in Buffalo,
then whatever. You haven't necessarily, because at this point, if you're trading for him,
buying low.
You're not going to have to give up a lot. Yeah. So, if it doesn't work out, you haven't necessarily parted with anything huge. So, I don't know. I feel like it's worth a dart throw. Is Kiki QT ahead of Will Fuller now? I mean, the last 2 weeks he's had more targets.
Yeah.
He had the lone Texans touchdown last week. I feel like he's creeping up on him.
No, dude, he's definitely creeping up on him. Not yet for me. Not after 2 games. I still think Fuller's the better play, as long as he's 100%. But here's an interesting matchup. Okay, I'm not suggesting you should sit Nuke Hopkins because that would be nuts. Okay, Tre'Davious White is turning into one of the better cover corners in the National Football League, Marcus. And I am really interested to see what Hopkins does against Tre'Davious White, because that is going to be a fun matchup to watch. And if White is doing his job and Nuke is held in check, and by held in check, you would think 6 catches for 85 yards and no touchdowns, could be other opportunities for guys like Fuller and QT to produce.
I'm still starting Nuke, though.
No, dude, of course. Of course. No, listen, I'm not telling you to sit Nuke Hopkins, but he's got a bad matchup. I mean, I'm not telling you to sit Keenan Allen. He's got a bad matchup.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you got grapefruits, then maybe you're sitting them, but I clearly don't.
I mean,
I stick with my studs typically.
You better have something really deep in that wide receiver bag if you're sitting Nuke Hopkins this week. So Bears at Dolphins.
Yep.
Okay, let's say that Mr. Trubisky obviously is not going to throw 6 touchdown passes again this week. It's not going to happen.
Nope.
Does he gently come back to earth, or does it come crashing down back to earth this week?
Oh no, crashing, crashing, like the Apollo into the ocean.
Oh.
I mean, look. Okay, so Trubisky's first 3 games, a rushing touchdown, 14 fantasy points. 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 14 fantasy points. No touchdowns, 5.6 at Arizona. And then Tampa Bay comes to town, and they are the Swiss cheese of defenses. And he goes just nuts.
Right.
Miami's defense is good.
Pretty good.
I mean, they're banged up on front, but their
certainly
defense,
better than Tampa's.
Their defense is good, man. I mean, you're going to Florida. You're not facing the Bucs again. You're facing another team that can get the job done on the defensive side of the ball that's going to be geared up in front of their home crowd. I mean, the Dolphins have given up just 12.5 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks overall and 8.9 points per game to quarterbacks at home this year. Trubisky's not that good yet.
No.
He had a 6-touchdown game. God bless him. I had him in a 2 QB league. I loved it. I killed my opponent that week. Thanks, Mitch. Now you're going on my bench. Or maybe the waiver wire.
Yeah, I just, I haven't seen anything from Mitch Trubisky that gets me excited, and it makes me sad for Allen Robinson.
And I don't like Robinson this week either.
Allen Robinson.
And even Burton, too.
Burton.
Burton's his target share is not great enough. I mean, you got to play him probably because tight end's tight end.
Right.
But I mean, his target share is not that great. So
I still do believe though in Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen.
Yeah,
because the Dolphins can't figure out running backs. They don't know.
No. Yeah, I mean, Mixon ate him for lunch.
They can't figure out running backs. So yep. I start either one of them.
One running back I am not playing.
Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, dude. I would be trying to sell high on this dude all day long because he won't have a better game than he did last week against the Bengals. He's got the Bears this week. Running backs are averaging 2.9 yards per carry against this defense. Running backs are averaging 3.3 catches per game against this defense. And they've had a week off. I mean, you know what a bear does to a dolphin if you put the two of them together?
Well, how deep in the ocean are we talking?
Not deep.
Okay, well then, it's bad.
Not
news.
deep.
It's bad news for the.
Can
Dolphins.
a bear swim?
I mean, yeah.
Can a bear swim? I think a bear can swim, right? Bears can swim.
Bears can swim. They can
Bears
climb
can
trees.
swim.
Yeah.
Dolphin,
But I feel like if you're going deep in the ocean, then it becomes a little bit sketchy. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a bear.
Marcus, you just ruined my point.
I'm not a bearologist.
All I'm saying that is if you gave me a bear and you gave me a dolphin and said, which one's going to win a fight, I'm going bear. 10 times out of 10.
Actually, let's see if bearologist was a thing. And apparently it's like a...
Really? Unless the Dolphins have those lasers on their heads like in Austin Powers with the sharks.
Freaking sharks with
freaking lasers on their freaking head.
Rams at Broncos. We talked a little bit about the fact that there will be weather. There's expected
I can't wait.
Weather. But have we reached the point where the Rams, their main point producers, are they semi-matchup proof now?
Well, I mean, last week, Kupp before he left had a great game. Woods had a great game. Of course, Cooks. I'm so glad he's okay because that hit looks so bad.
That was vicious.
I mean, yeah. I mean, what's weird is that, and this is like one of those examples where people are like, well, you're saying the wide receivers are going to have good games, but you're saying to sit their quarterback. You're an idiot, Fabiano.
But it happens.
All the time.
It
happens all the damn time. But I do like Goff this week. I mean, it does depend on what's going on with the weather and how heavy it's snowing, because typically they're going to get those fields cleaned off. And if the snow is stopped before kick, the field will be fine. Mm-hmm. But if it's snowing during the game, Goff's a California kid, right? I'd still play him. Play him. I talked to Kurt Warner about this a million times, and the wet ball and the wind is more of an issue than like throwing a ball in a snowstorm, right? And I don't even know if this is going to be a snowstorm, but you can also look back. I mean, there's been plenty of games that have been played in the snow where quarterbacks have done just fine. I remember the game Tom Brady against Tennessee, and I think they were wearing the old Oilers jerseys. Which are glorious, by the way.
Right.
And by Eddie, by the way, you're wearing the correct New York Giants jersey, by the way. He's wearing the 80s version of the Eli Manning jersey. They should have never went to the NY. They should have kept the Giants.
Oh, really? I love the NY.
No, they should have kept it.
Well, the NY was the original.
Right. I know. They shouldn't have gone back.
I love that. No, I think that was better.
But I like the Jets one, too, with the old I don't like the white helmet with the thing. I like the old 80s thing, but I like everything that's back in the 80s.
Well, if you listen to this podcast Thursday night, they will be wearing those tonight.
Yes.
During the game. They're wearing the old Giants and then the color rushed white with the blue numbers.
So, but I don't think that the snow would keep me from starting Goff. Now, on the other side of the ball, I'm not starting Case Keenum. No, thank you. And Marcus, and maybe you're going to go to the waiver wire now, but in our experts league, because I'm getting my butt kicked because all my running backs are either holding out or hurt. Well, now they're all hurt because I made a trade. But I cut Freeman.
Wow.
I had to.
That's a big step for you.
I had to.
That's a big moment for you.
I had to. I had no choice. I had guys on the bye this week. I had to do it. I'm not going to play him. I can't keep him on my bench. He's not doing anything. Philip Lindsay's he's taking that job and run with it. Literally, figuratively.
Wow. Yeah,
I cut him. I cut him, man. I can't. Like sometimes
it's a watershed moment on this podcast.
you give a dude like 5 weeks. I mean, that's enough, man. Fantasy season's 16 weeks long if you're lucky.
Right.
You know, somebody else is going to pick him up. And if Lindsay goes down with an injury,
then, yeah,
I am going to come back on this show and cry my eyes out. But I mean, I had to. So I picked up Bilal Powell because if the Crow is out and Powell against the Colts, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I had to do it. It hurts. It hurts. Trust me, it hurts. But I will say this: Freeman has shown that he can get the job done. They're just not giving him a chance.
I mean, right
They're
now,
not giving him a chance.
Well, because both guys are playing well, so it's
and
not.
No
like
one saw this Lindsay guy coming. Guy's 5'8". He's the same height as me.
But he's
yes, I am 5'8", maybe 5'7".
But he's fast.
He's fast, dude. He makes plays, man. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Real quick, so we all came into the season, saying that what happens with Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas really hinged upon Case Keenum being better than Trevor Siemian, right? We were all like, yeah, it's gonna be like. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I'm not sure. Because at this point, I looked at it. This point last year, after 5 games last year, Siemian had more touchdowns than Case Keenum currently does. He had fewer interceptions than Case Keenum currently does. Keenum has had a couple of big yardage games. He's had a couple of games over 300 yards. But on the whole, Trevor Siemian at this point has been better. So, like, all this hope that we had. But
Siemian started off really good last year.
That's true, and he fell apart.
Right? I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, he started off okay. I mean, even last year, it wasn't great for him, but he's been.
I thought he had.
It's to the point now that there's talk that Chad Kelly could take over as the quarterback in Denver. That's how bad it's been.
Do not want.
He was fun to watch in the preseason.
I know.
But I don't know if I trust him in the regular season.
Yeah.
But that's where we are right now with Case Keenum.
Good Case.
Making a change.
Stayed in Minnesota. Apparently.
Well, yeah, because Case had.
He's a journeyman.
There's a reason he's a career backup.
Yeah, dude.
There's a reason he's a career.
Hopefully, Akbar's not around, takes his shoe off, and throws it at us. But it's true. Did you watch that? You were there, right?
Yeah.
No, Akbar. Number one, Akbar. You could fit a family of 3 in Akbar's shoe. It's like a damn sailboat. It's huge, right? I don't know why he took his shoe. Why did he take his shoe off again? I don't know.
You're asking me
why
to get the mind of Akbar,
He's
right?
taking his shoes off. He's taking his shirt off. Hopefully he keeps the damn trousers on. Because if he takes those suckers off, I'm running in the other direction. But, yeah, Keenum. And you know what's funny? We're hammering the guy, right? We're having fun with him. Case Keenum had a good fantasy week last week. He had over 20 points.
Yeah, he did have a good week last week.
He had a good week last week.
That got him sort of back closer to even with Trevor Siemian. He had to have a big week to kind of get back to even, which, and even a lot of that came in garbage time because the Broncos were getting blown out by the Jets.
That was a bad call by me and a lot of other people. Like Broncos defense on the road against a rookie quarterback, and they got whacked.
Look, the process was right. The results just didn't work out, and a lot of that, like I said, came in garbage time once that game was.
I think people underestimate how important home and road is. People online will break stones. Oh, Roethlisberger, home, road, great analysis. Same with Matt Ryan. Don't hate on me, man. The numbers are there, and the Broncos defense for 3 quarters against the Chiefs was playing good. And then the fourth quarter, Mahomes came in and ended up having a pretty good fantasy night. But on the road, they were just brutal.
Yeah.
That was bad, dude. And it's weird seeing the Broncos get smoked by a rookie quarterback who hadn't really done much.
That was it was kind of an eye-opener.
Yeah.
Ravens at Titans. Is there anybody that you're starting in this? I was looking. I guess
Ravens defense.
That's about
Justin
it. Ravens
Tucker.
Defense, maybe the Titans defense.
I'm not. Maybe. I'm not starting Corey Davis. I'm not starting either running back. Lewis is a flex at best. They couldn't get it done against Buffalo, for crying out loud. I'm not starting the quarterbacks. This could be like a 9-6 game.
Ugh.
It really. Tennessee defense is good, especially at home.
Right.
It could be a 9-6 game. It really could be. So, I mean, Justin Tucker is probably. Imagine that.
That's it.
Like Deion Lewis is a desperation flex against a good defense. I mean, Crabtree, John Brown, maybe like as a wide receiver 3.
You play John Brown, you're hoping he hits the ceiling.
I mean, Alex Collins, he's a desperation flex right now. I mean, guy's fumbling the ball away.
I can't play Alex Collins.
And Buck Allen's been the better fantasy back. And Collins was what, a 5th or 6th round pick?
Yep. Yeah. It just hasn't worked out. Jaguars and Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
TJ Yeldon has been pretty good.
Yeah, dude.
Anybody else, though, that you have any faith in? I mean, because, like, we keep trying to hit on finding a Jaguar wide receiver is like playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know which one's going to pop up.
Exactly.
You know, like, there's nobody beyond TJ Yeldon that I trust this week in this offense.
No. If there's one, it's either Moncrief or Keelan Cole. And I can't tell you which one because they alternate. You know, like Moncrief's good one week. You know, Cole's been good. He had that one big game. I can't trust any of them. Niles Paul, I'm not trusting him. You know, I mean, I get it. You know, we're hurting at tight end. Are we hurting at tight end to the point where we got to start Niles Paul?
The only Niles I recognize is Fraser Crane's brother.
Yes. Great show, by the way. And, you know, for the Cowboys, it's Zeke and that's it. You know, and like,
that's it.
I don't know what Jerry Jones has got going on in his head. Didn't he say, like, our wide receivers are good? I say "are" because I'm a Cowboys fan.
Well, I mean, like
he
said that. I know Cole Beasley saying, "Hey, we're getting open." Like it's it's not on us. We're actually getting open.
Well, you can't play any of the wide, not against the Jaguars. There's nobody. You play Zeke, that's it. And actually, the Cowboys have a tough schedule coming up next couple of weeks.
Yep.
Right. So if you got a couple of stinkers from Zeke, you got an antsy fantasy owner. Zeke's fantasy playoff schedule is really good.
So he's got the Jags this week. They're at Washington next week. Then a bye. Then Tennessee.
Tennessee's tough.
Then they're at Philly, which
Philly's tough at home. I mean, but then look at that. Look at the 3 games, fantasy playoffs.
When the fantasy playoffs, you're looking at you got the Eagles, but you got the Colts, and then the Bucks.
Cool.
So if you can get the championship week, with Zeke on your roster,
you're in good shape.
It's just you got to.
He might be a guy.
You got to dodge a lot of mines to get there.
I just I made a trade for Zeke last week in a league, and I made a trade with Dan Helly in our talent league. I traded him Mahomes. As much as I love him, I can pick up Jameis Winston off the waiver wire, and he might score 5 fewer points than Mahomes this week. Mahomes and Chris Thompson, I got back Big Ben and Saquon.
Wow. Wow, look at that.
Oh, I love it. But like Saquon and Zeke, very similar in value. You know, guys that if you think you can get now, I would do it.
Okay. Let's see. Next one up. Chiefs at Patriots.
Start him up.
Not
Chris Hogan.
I was like, can you start Chris Hogan?
No.
Okay.
Well, Chris Hogan's banged up too, isn't he?
I think he is, but I guess that's the point though, right? Like everybody is kind of startable in this one, right? Like.
Yeah, he didn't practice on Thursday.
All right, so you're not starting Chris Hogan.
No.
Probably.
So, well, here's the thing. And people talk about busts, and we talk about some of the guys who've been banged up, like Dalvin and like Fournette. But this dude was getting drafted in the 4th or 5th round in some leagues.
I think
people forgot. Listen, Edelman wasn't going to be out all year. It's 4 games.
I think everybody realized that, but it was like, hey, you know what, Chris Hogan. I think we all just assumed that he was going to step in and replace that Julian Edelman production, even in the first 4 weeks. I think the fever dream for Chris Hogan was that for the first 4 weeks, he basically steps in and replaces the missing production that Julian Edelman would have given them. Yep. And then, because he was so good, sort of like the Ralphie dream in A Christmas Story, he'd be getting A+++++++, and
blowing kisses.
Right, and so they couldn't get rid of him, right? He's just so good. We'll work him in with Julian Edelman. I think that was sort of the grand fever dream we had, and it just went south.
You know what's funny, too, about Hogan? His best game this year came against the Jaguars.
Yeah.
The hardest team.
Oddly enough.
Oddly enough. I mean, he's a waiver wire fodder right now, dude. After the acquisition of Josh Gordon and with Edelman back,
there's no
waiver wire fodder, dude.
I'd
rather have Philip Dorsett.
Right. At this point, it's that bad. Hey, Sammy Watkins. I feel like this has been a moment of personal growth for me because I was completely out on Sammy Watkins. I'm like, he's burned me too many times. He's never really amounted to anything. He's just never going to work out. But the conditions seem to have been right here in Kansas City. I mean, you're working with Andy Reid in this offense, not having to be a number one receiver. He's not that guy that has to carry the offense anymore. He's not getting all this extra attention because there's so many extra weapons. And you look, his last 3 full games, right? He had 100 yards against Pittsburgh. He had 55 and a touchdown against the 49ers. Left the game against Denver early with a hamstring injury, but came back the next week against the Jaguars, had 6 for 78 yards.
Yeah, he's better.
He's playing really good right now.
He's been better than I thought he was going to be, honestly, because there are just so many mouths to feed in that offense. And, they've all been kind of eaten to a point. I mean, Kelsey more than the rest of them, except for against the Chargers, which team he always struggles against. Watkins has had some big games. Tyreek's had some huge games and then some stinkers. So they're getting the ball. And that's going to be a fun game to watch.
That'll be a really fun game to watch.
The Patriots defense has not been playing that bad, but I just think this is going to be a barn burner.
Well, also, they don't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
So if they're going to let Mahomes stand back there, it could be a really long game.
But also, this is like Reid against Belichick.
Yep.
And Belichick against Mahomes. And Reid against Brady. Oh, it's going to be so much fun to watch.
Yeah,
the only thing that could make this game any better is if the Patriots wore the old school red jerseys with Pat the Patriot on the helmet, and the Chiefs are wearing their whites. Oh, that would be great. Be great. Sorry, I love those jerseys.
I see.
I love them.
All right, Monday night game, 49ers at the Packers. Looks like no Matt Breida, so is this an Alfred Morris week? Can you trust him against the Packers?
So I've got Morris in a couple leagues, and I get it. He's going to get the full complement, you would think, unless, they're game scripted out. But, I mean, that's possible, right? I mean, if the Niners are killing getting killed by the Packers, how much is Morris going to carry the ball in the second half?
So then it becomes a Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah, maybe. So I don't know. I get it. Workload is important, obviously, and the projected workload. I mean, you would think you're going to get at least, 18 touches out of him. You would think. But if he's game scripted out of it, I mean, look what happened to Aaron Jones last week. Aaron Jones had 7 carries the first half, and then boom, he's gone. Game script. So if you feel like the Packers are going to come out and destroy the Niners in the first half, which is very possible, I mean, then is Morris that great of a play? Volume play? Yeah, I say he's a flex starter, but I don't know if I have a lot of confidence in him.
Wow. I like the potential for volume there.
I like that too.
I would think that, again, the Niners keep it close enough that he still is relevant for most of it. But otherwise, Kyle Juszczyk does come in and become a factor because he's the guy who catches the ball out of the backfield. We saw that a little bit last week too for them.
By the way, you guys can't see the picture. Marcus looks pretty good over here, huh?
Oh, thanks.
Look at the hair, man.
It looks like actually shaved for that.
It looks pretty good, right? What do you think, Eddie?
You guys have a set of beautiful, fun, zany
there's
pictures.
There's nothing beautiful about me.
Zany is
I'll be happy to rotate through all of them so that when we cut our videos, you guys every week I'll have a new photo of you guys in the background.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Thanks.
Looking good. Now that's a picture you send to mom and dad. And say, look at how good I look, Mom. Look at how good I look.
My tuition dollars went to something.
Yep.
I know you're still on the Aaron Jones bandwagon.
I'm not giving up.
You're trying him this week, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he would have had a better game if it wasn't for negative game script last week. And I think there's a positive game script coming up. So second half, they're going to give him the football. He didn't get the ball in the second half last week because it was all Jamal Williams because they're getting killed. I still believe it, and if he has a bad game, he has a bad game. But I feel like, and I've said it before, he's the best back they have. And if the Packers are ahead in the second half, and they gave him the football, he can give you 15-plus PPR points.
Now, and you just got you said Aaron Rodgers is saying...
he told reporters today that he has a setback last week with his knee, so he's hoping that tomorrow, if you listen to the podcast on a Thursday, that his Friday practice goes smoother because apparently his knee is all banged up again.
Okay, well, that's disheartening.
Yeah, it is.
That's very disheartening.
Well, maybe that means more of Aaron Jones. I mean, you still can't even Aaron Rodgers, at less than 100%. It's not like you could stack the box to stop the run, or Rodgers will kill you. Still.
He will still, yeah. So, all right. Well, that's something to keep an eye on as we get closer to Sunday. There. So that's our look at the Week 6 games. Now It's time for one of my favorite segments of the week. It's Eddie's Delirious Pick.
Yeah, buddy.
What do you have?
All right, so last week I gave the season-long one, the Cooper Kupp, who did have a touchdown.
Right.
I feel like every
Yep.
week he has a touchdown. I think he has up to 5 now, so hopefully he plays this week. I know he's dealing with the concussion, but if he does play, hopefully
Looks
keeps
like
the
he's on
streak.
track to play.
Yeah, he should play, so I'm liking how that's going. This week I'm going to go in the running back area, and it's a guy that I have on my team, and he's been much maligned all season just due to coaching and quarterback changes. It's David Johnson. The Cardinals are playing the Vikings this week, so you think strong defense, but it's Delirious picked for a reason. So I want to say that that David Johnson has his first 100-yard rushing game, but also receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown.
Ooh.
I know it makes no sense at Minnesota, but I do like the dome helps him in a sense. Don't have to worry about any weather factors or fumbling or anything like that. Just another week that Rosen's more comfortable. They targeted him 3 times only through the air last week, but like I said, I only need 1 touchdown. He's rushed the ball 18 times last week for 55 yards, so he's slowly getting going. I think he had over 20 rush attempts the week before, so they're finally starting to realize that he actually might be a good player, and they should start using him more. So I think this is his breakout week, just because it makes no sense.
You would hope so. I think the thing about this is everybody looks at the Vikings. You know, obviously they've been such a good defense the last couple of years, and we look at them, we still think, wow, that's a scary matchup. But the way they've played this year, they have not played
exposed
up to
with the Rams. You're right.
Right,
Yeah.
they just have not played up to the expectations this year. So, I like 100 yards with a rush and receiving touchdown. I like it.
Sooner or later, he
It's
has
delirious.
to have a game where you're like, oh, that's the David Johnson.
A David Johnson game, right?
And it's going to have to come. And like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with the comfortability of Rosen. Now that he's in there for this is his 3rd start. I mean, like you said too, like you see the Vikings on paper, they have talent on defense, but as a whole, they haven't been as good as what they were. So why not? Why not this week? Why not the game that they're not home? Even if they lose this game, get blown out, which I think they might. That he still has a big game, even if it's garbage time. The thing too that scares me though is like only 3 passing targets.
That's wild.
It makes no sense.
That's wild. I don't understand how that works. But all right, I can get down with this. I can get behind that. I don't have David Johnson in any leagues.
I traded him.
You did.
I have been on
I have him in one league.
I have been on a trading frenzy in the last couple. I just love to trade. Not trying. I love the action, man. I love trading in the Allison Chains League. And the trade ended up, I won last week, but it backfired on me temporarily because I traded David Johnson and Galladay, and I got back Chris Thompson, Breida, and Keenan Allen. And Breida got hurt last week, but, I mean, long term, I think he'll be fine. So, but I do have Dalvin Cook in that league, and he's coming back this week, full practice, so that's a good thing. So, I've been wheeling and dealing. And again, we got to talk about that trade I made with Damashek last week. I think it's going to interest a lot of people because a lot of people are wondering what to do with certain injured / holdout running backs.
Yeah, that'll be one to keep an eye on. All right, before we finish up, we'll hit the mailbag. See, we got a few tweets there.
Yeah, we have a bunch of tweets. Thanks again to everyone who tweeted at either Marcus or Fabs or the NFL podcast handle. Let's start over here with at Horsebauer4. Should I start Buck Allen or Aaron Jones? Kind of seems like Jones should see more action.
Yeah, I go with Jones here.
Agreed.
I mean, Buck Allen has just been like the best thing he's done for fantasy managers is help those people who are playing against Alex.
And if I'm correct, I don't think the Titans have given up a rushing touchdown to a running back, or a touchdown at all to a running back.
They haven't given up much, even if they have.
So
it's been bad.
Next up, we have at Mike Abel 77. Allen Robinson, Will Fuller, or John Brown this week.
I'd probably go Will Fuller.
I think I'd go Will Fuller. I don't trust Allen Robinson this week. I just don't.
It's not that I don't trust Allen Robinson. I just don't trust Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah,
that's probably more.
That's
of
true.
It.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I go Fuller.
At Fantasy F is 4. Should I trade Gronk and Dalvin, guessing Cook, for James White and Mike Evans? So Gronk and Dalvin Cook for James White and Mike Evans.
I'd do it if I'm getting White and Evans.
Yeah, you in return you would.
I'd do it.
I don't know. I say no just because I don't know if I want to trade away Gronk because then what do you? Then you're really struggling at the tight end spot.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on what you got.
I mean, I guess that's.
But I kind of did that with you, and I'm streaming tight ends and.
Yeah, I mean, it's doable. It's just it's a
And let's wrap it up with this one. We have at SassyGal09. Should I continue to use the Chargers on defense or switch it up?
I say you switch it up. I mean,
the matchups. I mean,
versus the Browns this week, right?
They're playing a rookie quarterback. I mean, I get it.
This week is probably a good week for him, but I think week to week, I don't think you have to just ride the.
No. Like, I mean, the Texans are a good play this week. You know, they could. I saw the Vikings on the waiver wire in a few leagues. I put in some claims.
Wow.
Get them. Yeah, but they hadn't been good. You know, so there's defenses out there that you can. I'll give you an under the radar one.
Okay.
Cowboys.
Yeah,
Blake Bortles is a turnover machine.
He is a turnover machine.
And the Cowboys defense, I mean, I get Sean Lee, but I mean, they play better at home. They play better at home. Look, I mean, beat Stafford and the Lions at home. The Lions, what have they done? They beat the Patriots this year, right? Who'd they beat? They beat Packers.
Yep.
So I think the Cowboys defense is a decent streamer.
They are a sneaky streamer.
Yeah.
One thing with the Chargers, don't forget, a few weeks or hopefully sooner rather than later, they're getting back Bosa. If you hold on to them, that make a big difference.
That changes a lot with them.
Yeah, dude.
That does change a lot.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, hey, that'll do it for this edition of the NFL Fantasy Live podcast. Check in on Monday. We've got a special guest lined up. We'll talk some trades. A lot of things going on as we head to Week 7 and kind of get to the back half of the fantasy regular season.
Where's the time going, man?
Flying by. So, before we get out of here, as always, remember, if you lose your shoe at midnight, you're not in a fairy tale. You're probably just drunk. We'll see you on Monday.